There we go. Well, it is time for the Dunlop Motorcycle Tire Track Walk. And Broc, I got to tell you, it's going to get hot out there today, but right now it is 82 degrees up to 90, and that's going to affect the track a lot. Ryan Villapoto, happy to have you joining us here, and let's talk about that. You know, this track can dry out quickly. This is not going to help the situation.
It definitely can. Dirtworks is out here trying to put a lot of water on it, and like you said, it's going to be hot today, and track conditions are going to be tough. We're going to see first practice, it's a little slippery, a little muddy because they got to get the moisture in it, and then by the end of time practice, we're going to have blue groove, and then the moisture is going to come in tonight and set in, and the track's going to get slippery, so it's going to be very technical tonight. You know,
he's had 2 big wins here at the opening round. Broc, he has a couple more than you, but
he's got twice as many as I do. But you know what? In my defense, we only got to race it once a year. So I think you guys raced it 8 times a year.
Three times a year. So I call this place the home of Supercross. Anaheim. It's a very prestigious place to win.
Absolutely, it's a great place. And like we mentioned, talking about the weather, big factor today, no question about it. Santa Ana conditions. People are, California is known for their Santa Ana conditions. We have them today. Wind keeps coming up off and on, but it's sweltering. It feels like it's literally record-breaking temperatures and low humidity. So Dirtworks, as Brian mentioned, keeping some moisture in the track. Let's go out there. We're going to get our feet a little bit muddy, but right off the bat, another unique start here at Anaheim. Off the start, probably 200 and change on the footage to the first corner. But once we get to that first corner, big flat corner, sweeping back to another long straightaway with no obstacles. So technically it's about 410 feet before the actual whole shot, the chalk line. So who will be receiving the whole shot award?
And that's right, Broc. It's I think it's a left. It's actually 2 turns. It's a left and a left. I know it's not really a straightaway, but you'll see the guys making a left straight into a right-hander and a really long set of whoops this weekend, and they're pretty big. So keep an eye out there. We're going to have some great passes made and some people struggling through them.
With this super long start, does that give an advantage to the guys that might be outside of the doghouse or far outside of the starting lane, because they've got 2 turns to sort of make up ground or maybe dive to the inside?
Well, from my perspective, staying on the gate already, it's going to be left of the doghouse to the inside is going to be probably the picks of the night. So it's going to be, gate drop is going to be huge, the jump and getting through the first turn clean, because we go right into that. You want to be able to control the inside of the next right-hand turn going into the long set of whoops.
When we get up to this next corner here, and speaking of the riders, it's 10:30 as we all know. We always mingle with the riders as they do their track walk. Many of these riders, it's the very first time they got to see this track.
Yes.
And some were in we had some press day yesterday, some of the Honda riders, and they were out here, and I saw Jason Anderson, some of the leaders were out riding. Christian Craig in the 250, I saw him, and these guys, a lot of these first time they're getting to see the track. So here we are, right where Ryan mentioned earlier, down this secondary straightaway. This is only used on the start, no obstacles whatsoever, so nice and wide. But the one thing, what do you think, Ryan? This tight corner, to me, this is almost the first turn.
It is.
This is a right-hander.
Yeah, exactly. As you see right here, it's really, really tight, right into a small double, into a very long set of whoops. And they built us some really good whoops this weekend. So, like I said, pay attention and watch for passes. And guys that are going to be struggling, they're going to be cupped out with this temperature right now. You're probably going to see some blue groove happening also.
Spinning back to this corner, it's not a traditional corner. It's not a big bold turn. This thing has some weird angles about this. What do you see happening in the race with this?
I do. I see coming off here, once they come over the finish, we have a couple rollers coming into this, and it's essentially 2 turns. It's a right and a right. So you're going to see guys coming up the inside, trying to make their arc good, a nice arc, getting a lot of speed into the whoops, or you're going to have guys coming out into the outside and cutting up the inside. Once again, I'm going to say it again, is this blue groove is going to come into effect, so tire choice is going to be huge. Dunlop has multiple specs out there that they can choose from, but certain tires are set up for certain bikes a little bit better, so you'll see some different options out there on the motorcycle.
Absolutely, you mentioned that. Sometimes over at the Dunlop truck, we'll see some of the riders come over, their mechanics coming over. They're looking for a little bit more traction, and we see, I call them psychological grooves because I'm not 100% certain they actually do a whole lot, but some guys like a little softer feel in the tip of the knob, so they'll groove the tire a little bit and a couple of the shoulder knobs. But we'll see. As you mentioned, I think we're going to see some real blue groove, and these whoops right here is what I'm thinking. A lot of the race is going to be decided on who can get through these right now. They are nasty. They're brand new, unused. have not been tracked on any sort of press day. They did not use these in press day. And so as you can see right here, there's no tracks whatsoever on the face of these jumps, and every one of them is rolled and smooth with the big tractor. I don't know, these things look nasty.
I think they are. I mean, obviously it's early on, and as after coming into night show, they'll get the equipment on here and they'll back drag them, and then eventually they will get a little bit easier. But as the night show goes on, as the track deteriorates, it's going to be tough.
Ryan, let's talk about sort of eras of track. In the 90s, the track seemed completely different. In your era, they have a little different feel about it. Now we're all at the 450s. Have you seen a notice in your in the designs of tracks through your years of riding that they were maybe tougher when it was your start of your season?
I think that as many laps as these guys put in on a Supercross track during the off season, they're riding 4 days a week. As a rider, you show up and it's just it's the same thing over and over, just different obstacles, different setups. So they are prepared for anything. They have tools in their work belt that they can just pull out and say, okay, we're going to do this. This is how we're going to ride this section, or we're going to maybe stiffen up the shock a little bit here or there. But ultimately, all this work has been put in during the off season, so that when they show up and we have a long set of whoops like this that are really big, they should be prepared for it.
Now, when you're watching the race, do you naturally gravitate to one section of the track on that first lap, or are you like, oh, this could be a really tough section, or you're like, I want to see what the whoops look like as these guys are hitting them? Where do you really focus as a fan sitting back and watching these guys nowadays?
Well, I think right now, just looking, we're starting off the track walk. We've only gone a couple sections in this track, but looking at this track right now, this is going to be a key section, is this set of whoops. If we can't get through these set of whoops clean and fast and consistent, this is going to be a deal breaker right here, because this is a long set of whoops we have this weekend.
They're not actually, I noticed they're not as deep as we saw last week, not quite, but they're still nasty. And the fact that they come right out of the second corner of the race, that double apex corner there, it's going to be, going to separate riders immediately after the start of the race. I think it's going to separate the field.
It is. I think you're going to see guys that are able to, that are strong in the whoops. They're going to be able to get that, half second gap, right away if they get through the whoops clean, and that's huge for opening yourself up and not putting yourself in a position to be block passed in this next turn or the turn after this long straightaway set of rhythm.
You mentioned block passing right here. Right after the whoops, we know multiple lines usually develop in the whoops, different speeds happen. This is the perfect opportunity for really a stuff pass right here in a full 180 bowl corner right there, coming off a set of whoops.
It is totally. So you'll see guys, if you're watching here, if you're here in person, or if you're watching on TV, you'll see some of these guys come in well behind. Pass cannot be made, and if the guy behind them has a good drive through the whoops, the section the guy will be sucked up on, the pass will be made in this left-hander, and they'll triple right out of this turn.
Going to see some action there. Ryan Villapoto calling it right there, the Dunlop 180 bowl turn right here at Anaheim Stadium, and it's right at where home plate. That's where home plate sits on the baseball stadium. So that's the orientation for you out there watching on the Facebook Live feed. So
Brian, is it a mix of when you decide to make a pass on a guy, or are you sort of setting it up maybe a half a lap beforehand, knowing I gain ground on him here, I have an opportunity possibly here, trying to make it happen, or is this just sort of pretty cool?
I think it all depends on how fast you've closed in on the guy in front of you, what section's coming up in front of you. Like we've talked about, this long set of whoops, and it looks like we're going to go 3 out of the turn. 3, we have 2 5-footers with a small 3-footer between, so it's going to be 3-3, and then triple onto the tabletop. So this is going to be another key section where consistency and making sure you're hitting your marks and jumping this all 20 minutes of the main event.
Well, you mentioned the different heights of this. These tend to be 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot. So the 5s in the 250s, a lot of times you'll see the 5-footers, or what the 250s use as their launch. The 450s, on the other hand, usually have enough power out of the corner to get, maybe if you get 3, or if they get 2, they can do the 3rd over the tall one and get back down and still do a triple, but they end up jumping the 5-footer to keep you low. I mean, do you find
exactly? Yeah. So I think tonight, key for me looking at it right now is triple out. You're going to take off on the second triple here is going to be the 5-footer, but it's going to set you up to be able to triple onto the tabletop. So if we don't have the 3-3 combination here and then the 3 onto the tabletop, whatever combination they're going to end up with, some of the guys are going to end up jumping using the tabletop as a takeoff which is a lot of airtime, which in return is slow and ends up being slower than jump tripling onto the tabletop and driving off of that tabletop.
Well, you can certainly see your blue crew brother over there, Eli Tomac, with the red plate there. He's spending a little extra time on that third jump. I think he's kind of eyeing up what we're talking about. So that's where they get the idea, and they're saying, I'm trying to figure out, looking what's higher, lower, what options they'll do in the section, and yeah. I think we're on to something.
That's right.
Or people are saying you should still be racing.
Yeah, it's I get that. I was on the plane flying back from Seattle last night and had two couples that were coming down, young couples that were like, "Hey, we're going to Supercross," and I had a buddy. Everybody's got their masks on the plane, and we're on incognito, and my buddy Dennis is like, "Oh, you know who this guy is right here," and they're like, "Oh, no way," So it was kind of cool. They're coming down to watch, So no, I do not need to be out here. That's not for me anymore.
Your hands are full with a couple of young boys trying to ride PW50s, right?
That's right. They I only bring them riding when they ask to go, but they seem to be in the Supercross right now since it's we're here at the third round, Anaheim 3.
Yeah. So right now we're heading down what was really the right field foul line of the stadium here. So heading right through the section, big rhythm section. Ironically enough, not really necessarily as many times you'll see a triple be on each side of the stadium, but this is plenty of jumping right through this whole rhythm section. You mentioned, we talked about trying to see where Eli Tomac is back there. He is also standing on top of the big 5-footer. And, that point right now, they're trying to figure out a combination where they don't have to hit that big tall one. Or if they're going to hit the big tall one, they're going to try to quad something.
Yeah, that's right. And then it looks like if we end up with 3-3-3 onto the tabletop, we're going to single into the sand turn here, which, there was a lot of guys that, sand is, a big part of Supercross now. And I think it makes, it breaks it up from just having all the clay every single time. It brings in another element to the racing.
Well, speaking of sand there, I saw, wanted to be one of those little birds on the shoulder thing. I saw well-known, ex-mechanic team manager Jeremy Albrecht, now works for the AMA, and I saw him walking around the first corner, and he was right alongside having a very engaged conversation with a team manager, Tony Alessi of Moto Concepts Honda team. So I can only imagine what they were discussing, because what brought that up was when he talked about sand. So we had a little action last week.
We did.
You were, unfortunately, I'm sure you
I
saw
caught the replay 1,000 times. It was reposted on Instagram. Just an unfortunate event. I thought the team did a great job sending out a press release as far as how the team felt about it. I thought it was very well handled on Smart Top side.
Yeah, hey, motocross, supercross, contact sport, it happens. We see it. We're seeing it happen a few times. Anaheim 1 had a lot of incidents, but people are settling down right now, and but it's exciting to watch, right?
They are, and as a fan of the sport, an ex-athlete, ex-racer, I think this year has been a very exciting year for somebody that's grown up in it as a little kid and made it to the top and now retired. It's very exciting to watch, to be able to watch either in person here at the stadium or on TV, because we don't know what's going to happen, and points are really close, and we're coming into the mid-stretch of the season here, and guys are going to start settling down, but you're going to see guys really starting to kind of making big strides and getting those wins and getting those points and moving up the ladder.
As we hit the almost halfway point, pretty soon we're going to go to the East Coast 250s. As a 450 rider, it doesn't affect them much. They're doing every single round, but do you look forward to going towards that East Coast route?
Yeah, I do. Back to the fans' perspective, we have a whole set of new faces, a whole set of new riders, a whole new series starting with the East Coast and the Lights riders, and everybody knows Jet Lawrence will be racing the East Coast, and which is a big fan favorite right now, and just like I said, a whole new series starting inside of midway of the 450 class. That they race all 17 rounds all through the season, and you have a whole new series starting right in the middle, so it keeps it added excitement to it, because there's my little boys are like, oh, when's Jet racing? Well, Hunter's racing right now, guys. It's the West Coast. It's going to come up here really soon.
So as we walk across the starting line right now, we're actually crossing the starting line at a diagonal, coming out of the sand pit, which is actually in that right field corner, coming across a couple of, not a perfect bowl corner by any means coming out of that sand. So a jump leading out onto the straightaway, right across the starting line here at a diagonal, into a double, into a not quite 180, maybe a 120 or 130 degree corner, and then heading right across this section right here. Another great opportunity to jump inside, to be able to jump inside of another rider and make a good block pass right here.
That's right, and you better protect the inside. If you make the block pass here, it's going to put you on the outside for this next left-hander. So you might see a pass be made, and the pass be made right back coming into this rhythm section right out of this left-hander.
We always love to squaring them up and then get squared up back. I love those.
On the start straight, that's where the mechanic tough blocks are going to be. Can you actually read what they write?
You know, you'd be surprised. It's don't write a whole storybook on there, but yes, you can. As a racer, I just basically looked at my times and the time that was the guy that was whoever I was racing with. If I was winning, it was the guy in second, and our splits. What was our split?
So plus 1 second.
Exactly. So as for reading, like you might see something on there that says "whoops." Okay, well, we get to see that, we can read that. Okay, that means clearly we're doing something wrong, and wrong means we're slow. So figure it out. Either try a different line, and maybe that means jumping them. I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see these whoops turn into jumpers tonight because they are so long. Pay attention to Marv. He's one of the best guys at jumping the whoops. That was never my specialty. I just kept
Whoops
blitzing.
or jumping them?
Well, I thought I was pretty good in the whoops, blitzing them, but jumping them is another whole nother technique that you find more today than you did when I was racing.
You just need to grow up in the 80s. We jumped them all the time. The blitzing thing was kind of new. But right behind us right here, Ryan, this is a 5-jump combo. Each one of them is about 3 feet high. And I got to spy a little press day, and I figured someone would probably pull a 3 out of the corner even on a 250. And of course, Christian Craig, with all that talent in reserve, he easily pulled it off. A couple other guys did. But the 450s were routinely doing a triple and then a double into this corner right here. Some guys didn't quite pull that off on the 250s. They were doing 2 and then trying to get 3 on the way out, or 2, 2, and 1. But in general, that 5 combo there is going to be a 3-2.
Exactly. If you have the option to go 3-2, it may set you up to be able to go to the inside. This turn here looks really tight, so a lot of the guys are probably going to push out wide here and rail the berm. But you'll see a lot of the 450s that can get out of the turn and go 3-2. They might skate up the inside of this turn here and double into the triple.
I think you're spot on with the fact that corner is very, very tight. There's going to be some meet and greets over there, I think.
I think so.
I call it the old okey doke move. Okey doke,
exactly.
here you go. Hey, speaking of the start, we've seen a lot of riders get consistent starts. The same guys are out front in both the 250 and 450 class. Does it come down to reaction time, the bike that they're on, or their willingness to just keep holding it on for that whole shot?
Well, number one, it comes down to consistent reaction time. Right now, because we now in the racing era now, we have the metal grate, so every gate is good. Like before, you'd have to find what has traction, what doesn't, where are the holes at, where they're not. Now everybody, it's consistent across the board. If it's inside or outside of the box, that behind the gate is going to be, it is what it is. That starting pad is going to be great. So with this shorter starting line, like I said, left of the box is probably going to be where you're going to be.
Yep, we just coming off right here is what we kiddingly call a stock triple, but they are all about 62, 64 feet. Riders know them well. Their practice tracks are the same, but at least each rider knows, big air for the fans, big air for the crowd, but also the riders know how far it is and what it takes to get over them. So their bikes are all set up and geared just for that section right there. But Ryan, you made an interesting point that I wanted to talk about. Last week we saw a very, very long start, but you talked about the metal grates, and for me, the longer the start, it's a little bit of a safer situation because metal grates, everybody has the perfect pick gate behind the box. So at that point, they're not dealing with ruts. They're not worried about that. Everybody has a really good opportunity to get a good jump. When that happens, you got 22 riders lined up almost bar to bar as soon as they get over the gate. So the longer start, so a couple hundredths of a second reaction time better, and a long start could be 3-4 bike lengths. But when you're doing a real short start, it's usually some piling up, and that to me causes more crashes. So I do like the fact they've got a lot of room here, 410 feet we thought, before they hit the first obstacle.
That's right. Yeah, no, I think it definitely opens it up for a little more air. If you don't have that jump just right, you have more area to move around on the start. Like if it's longer, then you'll see guys kind of moving around and finding those holes and going. But when it's a little shorter to the actual, I call it technically the first turn where you're going to make your first left, that causes people coming in there and they're just trying to push it and get that front wheel or get your bar right in front of the next guy. If your bar's in front of them, you have the line.
Got it. Perfect. So coming out of that 180 after the triple, boom, into another rhythm section here with looks like 7 actually forgot to count them yesterday. I guess I should have. But
this is going to be, I think, a really technical spot here, especially for the 250s. We have the traditional triple right into this big bull turn, but this 3-footer that is shoved really close to the berm is going to be technical for especially the 250s. Like I said, getting this triple out of the turn and making the next triple single into that big bull left-hander.
excellent point. First jump, 3-footer, very close to the berm. Not a lot of time to build up speed, so most likely just a double out of here with a triple coming off of that.
And if they do go to the outside, they're almost setting themselves up for a big block pass. I mean, would it really depend on how the section falls as far as what line is faster, rolling the first and then getting on it, or ramrodding it out?
No, it does. You know, like leaving yourself open is a big issue, and being that we have a triple, you have some time to set up and in the air clearly figure out where we're going to go. If we're going to run it up, we're going to do a block pass. If we're going to rail the outside and triple out here, if we end up going double, they're going to take off a 5-footer here, and then our rhythm's a little bit, I would say, messed up, you know, because then you're going to have to go triple, double into the turn. So I see a lot of guys trying to get this triple dialed in for the night show.
Yeah, the 450s have a good chance at it, no question about it.
And maybe a quad here.
Yeah, it would be crazy to do a quad. You don't have a whole lot of room to slow down before the bull corner. You might see one of those catcher fence doing its job.
So he seriously popped off the quad last week.
Yeah, there was some a lot of fun stuff. These guys every week they amaze me what they're able to pull off. To be honest with you.
You know, with those the big power that they're all pushing out. You know, if there's a quad that's available and that's faster, that's consistently can be done. These top guys, you will see them, hit that thing every time if they can.
Ryan, we're seeing a lot of battles develop as far as between riders for points. Who was your nemesis, your arch nemesis as a rider? That, man, it's always this guy that's the thorn in my side.
You know, people ask me that all the time, and when I was back racing, you had James that would show up and traditionally was really fast. But I think for me, having Dunge there every single weekend, he might not have been the fastest guy, but you knew from lap 1 to lap 20 that he was going to, in the end of the race, it was more than likely going to be Dungy, you know. So he was more my focus because out of 17 rounds, the consistency, he had it. And, so knowing that, getting a good start, hitting your lines right, making sure that you were consistent for the 20 laps was what was going to win a championship in the end.
So, speaking of a section that was used yesterday in the press day, and we have kind of Eli Tomac offers expertise here. I know you rode here. You guys were doing 2 and then using this table, I believe, as a quad. I mean, it's kind of a pseudo quad to me because you're actually clearing another sort of triple, but you're using a table. So, what's your thought on that in the race and this whole section over here, and in general the track and the conditions that you see here?
Yeah, this one, the 2-4-3 was faster yesterday. We actually never went 3 on, but the problem with 3 on is you'd go off and then you go triple again and in with a single, so I don't think it's going to work. And then our pockets are pretty mellow between the double and the quad, and even after that, so we had good speed with it. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of change in this one. I think the big line's going to be in the far rhythm lane on the other side of the
Down
track,
that right
next
field,
to the loops,
I saw you over there really eyeing it up for quite a while there.
Yeah.
So you really seem to you're starting to gel with the Yamaha. You're really getting dialed. Your starts were fantastic last week in the Triple Crown format. Something we always say, oh yeah, Eli's not always the greatest start. Heck yeah, you were last week. You're the best starter of the group and walked away with the overall win. So you're really liking the Yamaha.
Oh yeah, I mean, 2 in a row, sweet. Red plate, we're feeling good.
All right. Well, thank you, Eli, and good luck tonight.
Best of
see if
luck.
you can
Thanks,
make
guys.
it. Who knows? Might be able to do a 3-peat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's always good to hear. I mean, right now he's got the momentum going. Clearly, he's got plenty of competition out there, but it's been fun to see him kind of come back around. It's Ryan. You've seen the very first Anaheim we had. There was a lot of talk about how crazily difficult the track was for round 1, and it's there were some surprises, and there were some other people that were kind of I think people thought, well, they underperformed. I mean, what did you do to prepare for a season to make sure you're ready to go at round 1?
I mean, I think Anaheim 1 is hard track, not a hard track. At the pressure of making sure or thinking, are we ready? Did we leave no stone unturned? Do we, you know, where are we at? Are we where we need to be? Is the bike where we need to be? So Anaheim 1 is always one that you just try to get through without losing a bunch of points. Obviously, we all show up try to win, but you know, ultimately, if we're on the podium leaving Anaheim 1, that's almost as good as a win. Like I said, we all try to go out there and win, but you know, leaving Anaheim 1 with good points, consistency, and kind of seeing where our bike is at, you know, and then who has a big mistake Anaheim 1 because of the pressure. There's all the fans. It's you know, it's a new year. There's a whole lot of other things that come into play at Anaheim 1 versus Anaheim 2 or round 2 or, you know, round 3, round 4 of the series. Everybody kind of finds their groove after Anaheim 1.
Did you ever feel that, for lack of better words, you know, it was over-analysis or paralysis by over-analysis? Did you ever feel that you came into it trying to overthink Anaheim 1? Did you ever have years, and then other years, like say you came in with kind of a relaxed environment or you know, attitude was much calmer, and that, hey, I'm just going to take what the first race gives me, and it ends up turning out better? Did that ever happen to you in your career?
I don't know if I thought about it like that. I think for me, like coming in, like I said, as a racer, the nerves are really high. It's that new year. It's the start of a season. You can lose the championship right here, but you cannot win it, even by winning Anaheim 1. So I think just trying to come in with a clear head and obviously we all set our expectations very high, but like I said, just leaving here on the podium is a win for most of these top guys, you know, and you know, Eli's on a roll right now. He's comfortable with the motorcycle. I think that his consistency, his experience, his age is gonna really, you're gonna see big strides, I think, right now. I think it's gonna, if these guys don't get up on the horse here really soon, he's gonna start chipping away.
Slipping away is what
Exactly.
it seems like. Yeah, he's got his maturity and all that working in his favor right now. So, Lurch, what do you think? I mean,
I think I was very blessed to be on this track walk, multi-time Supercross champ, 6-time outdoor national champ, and then there's me. So I was happy to get this on a lot more insight. I think the riders are really bringing, like Ryan, having him here this week, I think it brings a different perspective, and we see a lot of things that you and I might miss on this. So, man, awesome to have it.
Perfect. Thank you, Ryan, for all your expert information.
Well,
I mean, you know, modern rider, not too far from being able to compete out here. I'm sure you could probably put it in the main event. So, brother, thanks for joining us
well,
today.
thank you for having me on the track walk. It's good to see all the old faces that I've missed since I've been retired. You know, it's a lot of fun to come to Anaheim or any Supercross and be able to, you know, hang out and talk to people that I haven't seen in a while. So, and get on the track walk.
I saw a couple guys, like LCQ guy, like, oh crap, is
he back?
Is Ryan racing? Oh no, I'm not gonna make the main.
Well,
you're
not
looking
this
fit.
time.
You're looking
well, not
fit,
this time.
man. Yeah, good. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the Dunlop Motorcycle Tires Track Walk.